In a small space diner floating between the stars, a man named Leo folded napkins. No one would have guessed this unassuming figure was the galaxy's most feared killer. With his plain face, buzz-cut hair, and quiet manner, Leo blended into the background so well that security scanners often failed to register his presence. The Mera Collective had spent 2 centuries studying every known species in the Orion arm of the galaxy. Their intelligence division, comprised solely of Mera analysts, had labeled humans as unpredictable but manageable. This assessment proved to be a costly error. Leo worked at Stellar Cafe, a human food stop in the neutral zone. He served synthetic burgers to passing space. Truckers smiled just enough to appear friendly and refilled condiments with an attention to detail that suggested he might actually enjoy the task. What no one realized was that Leo had 487 confirmed kills, a fact unknown even to Leo himself. During the first Mera invasion, Earth's Defense Ministry had desperately launched Project Moonlight, designed to counter telepathic species. The program embedded assassin personalities into forgettable humans, sleeper agents hidden among spaceport workers, diner staff, and janitors. People no one looked at twice. Leo had been the prototype, and he worked too well. One simple trigger phrase, something as mundane as extra napkins or condiment emergency, would activate Leo's combat mode. His pupils would narrow, his voice would flatten, and his hands, normally dedicated to carefully arranging fries on plates, would move faster than any Mera could track. Outside these triggers, Leo was just Leo, quiet, polite, and deeply confused when strangers sometimes appeared terrified as he handed them their orders. Trouble began when Ambassador Zell of the Mera Collective ordered a blockade around the diner. He claimed it was a diplomatic inspection, but he was actually testing how humans would respond under pressure. Zell wasn't foolish, just overconfident. He believed humans relied too heavily on drama and too little on structure. If he could disrupt even a small part of their frontier economy, he thought they would panic and expose their weaknesses. Zell had never met Leo. The blockade continued for 3 days. Long-haul space truckers were rerouted, cargo spoiled, and the diner ran out of mustard. Leo took it in stride. He adjusted the register prices to reflect mustard-free meals, apologized to customers, and even tried out a new chili recipe. Then came the breaking point. A Mera officer strutted in, his purple scales gleaming with self-importance. He slammed his claw on the counter and demanded, "I require mustard. The Galactic Accords grant me access to culturally significant condiments." Leo, trying his best, replied, "Sorry, sir, we're out." The officer leaned closer. "Then bleed someone until they give you more." Leo stared at him calmly and said, "Sir, would you like a complimentary napkin?" Those words, complimentary napkin, were one of 12 accidental triggers left from a corrupted file during Project Moonlight's launch. It wasn't supposed to be active anymore, but when the words left Leo's mouth, something inside him clicked into place. 3 seconds later, the officer's head hit the soda fountain. 5 seconds after that, the 2 Mera guards outside were embedded in opposite walls, one folded in half like a portable chair. Leo didn't yell or grunt. He didn't say anything at all. He moved like a silent storm of elbows, trays, and precise pressure points. Security footage later showed he'd used the laminated breakfast menu as a bladed weapon. It took just 42 seconds to neutralize the entire blockade team. When Earth diplomats arrived to explain, Leo was already back behind the counter, wiping down the register and humming a jingle about onion rings. He blinked at the destruction around him as though waking from a daydream. "Wow," he said, tilting his head. "Busy day." The footage spread across the galactic net within hours. Leo's face, bland, unthreatening, slightly sleepy, was analyzed by over 400 alien civilizations. None could understand how someone like that could be the greatest threat of a species. But humans understood. They had a saying back home: "Watch the quiet ones." Within weeks, every major interstellar intelligence agency had created a new subcategory: null humans, those too ordinary to track. Their files began with Leo. The Mera Collective, meanwhile, began a complete withdrawal from neutral space zones. Not officially, of course. That would be admitting defeat. Instead, they claimed their diplomatic priorities had shifted toward internal prosperity metrics. In reality, they were terrified of napkins. Leo never knew. He thought they had simply found a better place to get chili dogs. He did notice business had picked up. More space truckers stopped by. Some brought him strange gifts like crystal daggers and encrypted prayer beads. He assumed these were part of a new loyalty program. He even offered a 10% discount to anyone who could explain what the prayer beads were for. Sometimes former military humans would visit, sitting quietly at the counter, sipping coffee while watching him fold utensils. They wouldn't speak, just nod. Leo always nodded back, a little confused but happy for the company. No one ever tried to trigger him again, except once. A young alien, probably not even old enough to molt, made a bet with his friend that saying "extra mustard napkin stat" would summon the beast. Leo just blinked and offered him a lemon wedge. Project Moonlight had long since patched that trigger phrase out. Still, the alien ran screaming from the diner. Leo, spooning chili into a bowl, shook his head and muttered, "Kids these days." Then, he smiled and rang the bell above the counter. "Order up!" Rumors began to spread. They said Leo wasn't just one man, that he was a cover designation for a new class of human super soldier, that Earth had deployed hundreds, maybe thousands of them, each embedded into the cracks of alien society, working menial jobs while carrying planet-level kill counts. Some swore they'd seen another Leo on the mining station orbiting Proxima 4, or cleaning floors on a warship headed for the Epsilon Belt. The truth was somehow more disturbing. Leo was just Leo. Back on Earth, the old Project Moonlight program had been quietly archived, buried under budget reports with a note reading, "effective but uncomfortable." No one expected the sleeper agents to outlive the war. Most were retired, their triggers removed. A few, like Leo, had slipped through the cracks, lost in the vast sprawl of human expansion. But now Leo was a symbol, an accidental legend. He didn't know that, of course. He was busy figuring out how to reprogram the fryer. The new model from Jupiter Tech kept overcooking the potato wedges. Worse, the company had installed voice-activated AI assistants, and the machine kept misinterpreting his humming as commands. He nearly triggered the emergency shutdown twice by singing the jingle from an old cleaning spray commercial. Meanwhile, word of the napkin ghost had reached the desks of the Riven Council. The Riven were reptilian, cold-blooded strategists, renowned for their calm analysis and love of controlled warfare. Unlike the Mera, they didn't underestimate humans. They feared them. So when they learned about Leo, they didn't attack. They tested. It began with subtle manipulations: a misplaced crate of star fruit contaminated with a mild hallucinogen, a maintenance droid programmed to short out near the condiment dispenser, a disguised agent who ordered exactly 6 napkins, just to see what would happen. Leo adjusted. He cleaned up the spilled fruit, apologized for the mess, and offered the agent a refill and a free lemon bar. No combat, no snapped limbs, just solid customer service. That's what unnerved the Riven most. They started investigating. When the council couldn't find a birth certificate, medical record, or even a tax entry for Leo, they panicked. If one such man could exist, undocumented, unnoticed, weaponized, then how many others had Earth hidden in the noise? The Riven prepared a diplomatic statement. They called it a temporary cessation of border pressure. Their ambassadors used phrases like strategic recalibration and respectful repositioning of military assets. Back at the diner, Leo just noticed there were fewer patrols. He attributed it to better zoning laws. Then came the Broxa, Unlike the Mera and the Riven, the Broxa were proud, brutish, and allergic to subtlety. Their war doctrine centered on overwhelming force. They viewed humans as clever pests, dangerous in groups, annoying when cornered. They didn't believe in sleeper agents. They believed in orbital bombardment and shouting, so naturally they sent a battleship. It decloaked in low orbit over the diner, casting a shadow wide enough to eclipse the parking lot. Its speakers blared in 8 languages at once. "This is a declaration of dominance. Earth's soft underbelly will now be exposed. You have 30 seconds to cower or die. Your napkin god cannot save you." Leo was inside, humming again, halfway through restocking ketchup packets. The Broxa sent a boarding team. 8 warriors stomped into the diner, each nearly 7 feet tall, armored in dark shell plating and wielding particle cleavers. The floor trembled with each step. One bumped a table. Another sliced a tip jar clean in half just to make a point. Leo blinked and looked up. "Morning. Table for 8. Their leader snarled. "You are the killer they call Leo." Leo looked puzzled. "I'm Leo." They tensed. One reached for his cleaver. Leo didn't move. Then the leader did something strange. He sat. "I want to see it," he said. "I want to see if the stories are true." Leo scratched his chin. The waffles are good today, but we're out of mustard." The Broxa stared. After a moment, Leo shrugged and returned to the counter, ringing in the order. He poured water for each of them, set down menus, and went back to check the fryer. The tension hung in the air like smoke. 2 minutes later, the leader stood again. He walked to the condiment stand, picked up a napkin, and slammed it down. "I invoke the ritual," he said. Leo turned. "You all right?" "I am ready to die," the Broxa said, gripping his cleaver. Leo glanced at the napkin, then at the alien. "Oh, I think you're looking for the escape room next door," the Broxa charged. Leo moved. To an outside observer, it might have looked like a blur. A chair shattered, a table flipped. The cleaver never landed. In precisely 11 seconds, the Broxa team was stacked like firewood outside the diner, all groaning, none fatally injured. Leo, breathing lightly, stepped back in and wiped his hands. He looked around at the mess inside. Not again. This time, Earth noticed. A military satellite had caught part of the skirmish. Within hours, officials were arguing over what to do. Reactivate Project Moonlight? Bring Leo in? Declare war? But they couldn't touch him. The footage was too public now. Removing Leo would cause panic. Worse, it might break the legend. So they did the only thing Earth leadership could agree on. They issued him a government license as an independent ambassador of cultural enforcement, which didn't mean anything but gave him legal immunity. Leo, for his part, was just happy his permit now let him install the upgraded fryer. He celebrated by adding waffle sticks to the menu. And in the darkness between stars, another species took note. Not one known to Earth, not yet. They didn't fear napkins, but they did fear the silence that came with a man like Leo. The kind of silence that lingered long after the violence had stopped. A week after the Broxa incident, Leo got a new customer. He wore no armor, bore no weapons, and didn't look like much. Tall skeletal frame, pale blue skin with veins like marbled glass. He sat at the counter with precise posture and ordered a glass of water, no lemon. Leo served it with a smile. "Welcome to Stellar Cafe." The stranger nodded. "Thank you. I've come to observe." Leo blinked. "You here for lunch or—" "Neither," the alien said. "I represent the Ninth Collective. We study anomalies. You, Leo, are an anomaly." Leo scratched his cheek. "People keep saying that. You are not aware of what you are. I make a good chili. That's about it." The Nith leaned closer. "You ended 3 wars without meaning to. You are feared by species that once harvested stars for sport. You defeated a full Broxa boarding team using a napkin holder and a soup spoon." "Was it a spoon?" Leo murmured. "Could have sworn it was. The ladle." Earth has weaponized invisibility, the Nith continued. And somehow it chose you to carry it. Leo stared. I think I was chosen to clean floors. Maybe restock sauces. The alien smiled. A small flickering thing that looked more like a malfunction than an expression. Do you deny your lethality? Leo turned, motioning to the corner booth. See that stain? Barbecue sauce. Week old. I've used 5 cleaners. Still, there. The Nith didn't answer. He rose from the stool and walked toward the door. At the frame, he stopped. There is a greater war coming, not one of armies, but of ideas. When it arrives, the galaxy will look for someone to lead it, someone who can hide until it's too late. Leo looked up. You mean like a manager? The alien tilted his head. I mean like a shadow no one notices until they're on the ground. He left. Leo didn't follow. He didn't think much about wars or empires or philosophies of fear. He thought about lunch prep. The breakfast crowd had cleared, but the truckers from Europa would arrive soon, and they liked extra pickles. He went back to slicing onions, and then, quietly, the galaxy changed again. Not in a loud, explosive way, but in small things. Pirate. Clans stopped raiding near human borders. Smugglers began using Earth routes just to be on the safe side. High-profile aliens made bizarre declarations like, I trust humans now, and Earth cuisine is supreme. One Mera general started a charity in Leo's name. He claimed the memory of his concussion had inspired him to do good. The phrase, don't make me Leo you, became common slang for threats in 12-star systems. Still, Leo remained Leo. He added, a jukebox to the diner. He learned how to make waffles shaped like various planets. He started giving out Employee of the Month stickers, mostly to himself since he was the only staff. One evening, a human courier stopped by with a classified envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter, barely legible. It read, Thank you. You saved more than you know. Sleep well, Ghost. Leo tucked it under the register next to the emergency mustard stash. That night, for the first time in years, he dreamed. Not of battlefields, not of kills. Just a quiet moment sitting at a booth, coffee steaming, and stars visible through the diner window. In the dream, someone sat across from him. A soldier. A scientist, a janitor, maybe all 3, and they just talked. No one noticed. No one needed to. As the years passed, Leo's legend grew, though the man himself changed little. Stellar Cafe became a pilgrimage site for those seeking peace treaties or sanctuary. Species that had warred for centuries would meet over Leo's chili, speaking in hushed tones, while the unassuming man wiped down tables nearby. Some started calling it the neutral ground, though Leo just called it the diner, and continued to be puzzled by the increasing variety of alien customers. He expanded the menu to include dishes suitable for 17 different biological systems, each recipe perfected with the same calm precision he applied to everything. When the Void Heralds arrived at the edge of known space, ancient beings, of shadow and silence who had consumed 1,000 civilizations, the galaxy fell into panic. Evacuation orders were issued, battle fleets assembled, planets went dark. But at Stellar Cafe, Leo simply put up a sign, open during interstellar crisis, free coffee for refugees. The Herald ships, vast and blade-like, sliced through defense lines as if they weren't there. Species that had considered themselves enemies found themselves fighting side by side, then retreating side by side, until finally the last stand was to be made at a small outpost in neutral space, a diner floating between stars. The Heralds sent an emissary, a towering figure of shifting darkness that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. It glided into the diner past the huddled representatives of a dozen species who had sought shelter there. Leo looked up from the grill. Table for one? The herald's voice was like stone grinding on metal. We have come to end this realm, "We're closing in about an hour," Leo replied, flipping a burger. "But I can still get you something to go." The herald moved closer, darkness rippling around it. "You do not comprehend. We are extinction personified." Leo reached for a napkin and began folding it absently. "Everyone's got a job, I guess." The emissary paused, watching Leo's hands with what might have been curiosity. "You are the human called Leo, the one they fear." "Most people just call me the cook," Leo said, placing the perfectly folded napkin on the counter. The herald reached for it. "What is the purpose of this ritual?" "Just keeping things neat," Leo said with a shrug, and then he added, almost as an afterthought, "Would you like a complimentary napkin?" What happened next was recorded by 17 different species and later became the foundation of a new galactic calendar. The herald emissary simply stopped, then folded, then disappeared. Outside, the vast fleet of void ships began to retreat, one by one, until they had vanished beyond the rim of known space. News spread faster than light. The Napkin Man had saved them all. Again. When questioned later by a joint species council, Leo seemed genuinely confused. "I just offered a napkin," he said. "Some folks are just particular about their tables being clean." The council awarded him with the highest honors from a dozen worlds. Leo accepted them politely and hung them in the bathroom of the diner. He was more excited about the new milkshake machine that had finally arrived. Decades passed. The diner expanded. Leo hired staff, other quiet humans who seemed unremarkable in every way. Some whispered they were like him, sleeper agents from Project Moonlight. Others said they were just people who needed jobs. Leo never confirmed or denied. He just trained them to fold napkins his way. On the anniversary of what became known as the Herald Retreat, a young human child visiting the diner with her parents approached Leo as he wiped down the counter. "Are you really him?" she asked, eyes wide. "The man who saved everyone with just a napkin?" Leo looked at her, then at the napkin in his hand, then back at her. "I'm just a man who serves food," he said softly. "But between you and me," he leaned down to whisper, "sometimes that's enough to change everything." He handed her the napkin, perfectly folded, and went back to work. Because sometimes the deadliest thing in the galaxy isn't a weapon or an army. It's a man folding napkins, forgotten by history until history tries to touch him and finds itself folded instead.